Hello, fourth graders. Welcome to lesson 2.8, Multiply Using Mental Math. Please pause to write the lesson number and title in your notebook. Today's lesson objective is I can use mental math and properties to multiply a multi-digit number by a one-digit number. Please pause to write the lesson objective in your notebook. Today's lesson has some vocabulary. Our first vocabulary word is commutative property. The commutative property of addition and multiplication says that we can change the order of the numbers and we will still get the same answer. For example, 6 plus 4 equals 10 and 4 plus 6 equals 10. The order doesn't matter. Also, we have the associative property. The associative property of addition and multiplication says that we can change the grouping of numbers and we will still get the same answer. For example, 6 plus 3 plus 4 is the same thing as 6 plus 3 plus 4. Please pause to write the vocabulary word, definition, and example in your notebook. Let's read our Unlock the Problem. It says, properties of multiplication can make multiplication easier. Our problem is there are 4 sections of seats in the Playhouse Theater. Each section has 7 groups of seats. Each group has 25 seats. How many seats are there in the theater? So here's our multiplication problem. 4 times 7 times 25. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to use our commutative property. The commutative property allows us to move the order of our numbers. So we're going to move the order of our numbers from 4 times 7 times 25 to 4 times 25 times 7. So the 7 and the 25 changed places. Now we're going to look at 4, the first two numbers, 4 times 25. Well, 25 is like a quarter. It's easy to multiply by quarters. If I have 1 quarter, I have 25. 2 quarters is 50 cents. 3 quarters is 75. And 4 quarters is $1. So 4 times 25 is 100. So then I can multiply 100 times 7. And 100 times 7 is 700. So by moving the order of the numbers around, it makes it much easier for me to figure out my total answer of how many seats are in the theater. There are 700 seats in the theater. Let's try another couple problems to practice using our properties of moving and grouping our numbers. On this problem, we're going to multiply 6 times 10 times 10. And this time we're going to use the associative property. The associative property is our grouping property. It's who we hang out with, who we associate with. So notice that my numbers stay in the exact same order. 6, 10, 10. 6, 10, 10. 6, 10, 10. All of my numbers stay in the same order. But in the first example, I'm multiplying the 6 and the 10 together, and then multiplying by 10. In my second example, I'm multiplying 6 times 10 times 10. The reason we would do this is because 10 times 10 is 100. It gives me a nice, easy number to work with. 6 times 100 is 600. Using the mental math properties, it makes our math go much faster. Let's try this again. This time we're going to use both the commutative property, which allows us to change the order, and the associative property, which allows us to change the grouping. This time we're going to multiply 4 times 9 times 250. Wow, those are big numbers. Let's see if we can change the order a little bit to help make this easier. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move the order with the commutative property. I had 4 times 9 times 250. So now I'm changing it so I have 250, my big number, times 4 times 9. Now I'm going to look at my grouping and I'm going to say 4 times 250 first. Now the reason I would do that is because 250 is just like 25. Remember when we did this in the problem, the very first problem, 4 times 25 is like multiplying by quarters. So 4 times 25 is 100. But then I have one more zero here because it's not just 25, it's 250. So that means that it's 1,000. Now I have 1,000 times 9. Makes my problem much easier. 1,000 times 9 is 9,000. Let's practice this a few more times. In example A, it says we're going to use some friendly numbers. Friendly numbers means we're going to pull out some numbers that make this easier to work with. So I'm going to multiply 24 by 250. Well, that doesn't look very easy to me. So I'm going to think, well, 24 is made up of 6 and 4. So then I can multiply the 6 and the 4 by my 250, which is like our quarters, and it makes it much easier. So first I'm going to say 6 times 4, that's the change from 24, times 250. So then I'm going to say 6 times 1,000, and I got 1,000 because remember 4 times 250 is 1,000. We got that from the previous page. So 6 times 1,000 is 6,000. Okay? All right, let's practice again. This time we're going to practice a concept called halving and doubling. We're going to multiply 16 times 50. Well, 16 can be divided evenly by 2. Half of 16 is 8. And 8 is an easier number to deal with than 16 is. So I'm going to multiply 8 times 50. So 8 times 5 is 40, and then I have another 0. So I have 400. And then I'm going to multiply that times 2. Now the reason I'm going to multiply that times 2 is because up here I divided it by 2. So in order to get the same answer of 16 times 50, if I divide by 2, I have to undo it and multiply by 2. So 2 times 4 is 8, and I have 2 zeros, so it's 800. Now let's do an example using addition. I'm going to multiply 4 times 625. Well, 625 is a big number, but it has that 25 in there, and we've been practicing multiplying by 25, like a quarter. So I'm going to break it apart and make it into 600 plus 25. And then I'm going to multiply each part by 4. So the first thing I'm going to do is 4 times 600. 4 times 6 is 24. And remember, there's 2 zeros on the end of 600, so I have to have 2 zeros here. Then 4 times 25, like a dollar, is 100. And then I add those two answers together. So 2,400 plus 100 is 2,500. Wow, that's a big number. All right, and then the last way we can do this is with subtraction. So this time I have 5 times 398. Ooh, 398 is almost 400. So I'm going to round it up to 400, but then I need to make sure I keep track of how much I need to take back off if I round up. If I round up, I'm adding 2, so I'm going to need to subtract those 2 back off. So first I do 5 times 400, the number I rounded up to. And then I'm going to subtract 5 times the 2 that I rounded up. So 5 times 400 is 2,000, because 5 times 4 is 20, and then there's 2 zeros. And 5 times 2 is 10. So 2,000 minus 10 is 1,990. All right, now it's going to ask us what property is being used in example C and D. We didn't write this property down, but this property is called the distributive property, and we're going to continue practicing it in lessons that come after. All right, I know this is a lot of examples in today's lesson. I promise we will go over all of these in class. Please make sure that you have everything that I wrote down written down on your paper, and I will see you tomorrow. You're almost finished. Remember to go back to your teacher's website and complete the exit slip. See you tomorrow.